October. A time of year when we focus on all the things we've done in the year. You think, wait, hold on. October?
Next Level Coaching.
Hey, I'm Jim Kelly with Next Level Coaching, and I'm here to bring your career to the next level. So, we're going to be talking about end of year reviews. And that process in a lot of firms starts in either September or October. Now, we're probably a little late for this year to hit those topics ahead of time for you, and I apologize. I should have been more timely with my presentation of this information. But, we're going to have it for you going forward so that you can start planning for your next year. And yes, it is ridiculous to say, but in October, you should already be starting to plot your end of year for the next year. So, we're going to talk about a couple of things you should be focused on for your benefit. Things you can bring up for your manager's benefit and the benefit of any internal person who's interviewing you for another role in the future. And we're going to talk about, the good and bad and the ugly of the process. Now, next week, I'm going to do a video on this from a manager's perspective so that they can make sure they're adding value to you at your end of year. So, without any further ado, let's get into it. Now, the end of year process seems very, very silly. And in all honesty, for most organizations, it is a check the box activity. People already know at mid-year roughly where they're going to end up at end of year. And that's true. The managers are figuring it out. They're already doing those power rankings in their head, if not on paper, so that they know who's going to be getting the meets, who gets the exceeds, who gets the, below meets. And, different organizations call these things completely different things, so don't take this general terminology as a be-all, end-all. Or that every end-of-year process is just check the box, because there are some organizations that do this genuinely. But we're going to be going off of the standard process here, where you are trying to figure out what should I be putting in my end of year. So there are two major things you want to be focusing on from your positive. All right, that is, how did I do my day-to-day activities? That's number one. You should know how to do your job. If you don't, please talk to somebody and learn how to do your job, because that's kind of important if you want to actually move ahead. So we're going to assume you know how to do your job and keep going from there. All right. So we're going to talk about day-to-day functionality. I did X, Y, Z. I did this optimally. Here's my average throughput. Here's my, bells and whistles. Fantastic. We want to make sure we're addressing that. The second thing we want to make sure we're addressing is, here's the above and beyond I did. Now, this is where a lot of people start pulling their hair out. I know I don't have to worry about this much, but a lot of people do. You start pulling your hair out going, hey, what did I do this year? So, first thing you're going to be doing is, you're going to do this today, whether you've already done your end of year process or you're just doing it next week. Doesn't matter. You are going to start jotting down, what did I do as a win this year? Did I work on a special project? Did I exceed expectations on my sales? Did I, create these efficiencies? Did I lead the charge on these meetings? Did I do anything above and beyond? And what I want you to do is start a Word document that every week, at the end of the week, generally I recommend doing this on a Friday afternoon, because, quite frankly, a lot of people are out of steam by Friday afternoon. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a 4-day week, make this Thursday late in the day, and you're going to jot down, these are the things I did this week. And you're going to read through your previous list and go, I want to have like a top 5, top 10 list. I don't want to be writing a, article on what I did. here. And, I want to make sure this is a couple paragraphs, short and sweet, because I don't want my managers' eyes to glaze over when they're reading them. And I don't want any future hiring managers who are reading my end of year reviews for their eyes to go blur over reading it. That's a bad thing. So we want to keep it to max 3 paragraphs. Now, if you're super, super senior, maybe you go as far as 4 or 5. But most people, most of the time, you're going to do 3. Okay? Now, we want to make sure we have top 5, top 10 wins for the year. Now, this is important because you're also going to keep this tally in your head for when you work on your resume. Because on your resume, your wins are going to translate to key points you want to be talking about. Oh, wait, we're doing double work here? Yes, we are. We're always trying to be as efficient as possible because we have a finite amount of time to make money. So we want to make sure we're making the best money we can. Therefore, we're going to be making sure our wins are properly captured because we want to do the best we can for your career. Now, we have those. Now, the other thing we want to be thinking about when we're collecting our data here is there anything you were particularly working on this year? Something that wasn't necessarily a strength of yours. Whether it was, I'm really bad at juggling and I got way better at juggling. Now, for most people's careers, juggling doesn't matter, but I like using abstract things. All right? If you're a juggler, definitely keep that in mind. But most of us are not professional jugglers that are watching this channel. If you are, please sound off in the comments because I definitely want to have a conversation with you because I think that's awesome. But I digress. We want to make sure whatever we were working on this year, we have that noted. And where I started with it and where I finished with it. Because we want to show our growth. Because that is important. That is something that the future hiring manager is going to want to know about. And something your manager should already know. But if not, we should tell them. Because there are some really, really good managers out there. There are some really, really bad managers out there. But we are going to always assume the worst and hope for the best. So we're going to spoon feed them our victories, spoon feed them our growth, so that they're aware of it. And always, 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 if you can put something against numbers, that it always shows things the best. Now, if you're working on your Excel skills, that's not necessarily going to be something you put in numbers, but it's something you can put in a metric of, I went into the year using Excel and, I could do basic mathematics in it. I learned how to do pivot tables. I learned how to do macros. I learned how to do VLOOKUPs. Anything to that effect you put in there. It is now a statistical way that you can gauge that's my growth. And that is where you want to be. So we talked about all the information we want to have in our end of year. Now let's talk about how we want to form it so that it's good for our manager and it's good for any future hiring manager inside the organization who's going to see it. Now, if you're dead set at this point, this is not the company for me, just toss together how you like. Because at the end of the day, that's going to be good enough, right? But if you think this is going to be a firm you're going to want to stick around with, we want to make sure we give ourselves all the ability to grow as possible. So how we want to lay this out is, number one, we want to focus on what we did. Our basic job. This is what I did. This is how great I am. And it's always how great you are. I know, especially for, people like myself who are neurodivergent, we're not very good about talking about ourselves. Period. The end. All right. But you bring a lot of things to the table and nobody else is going out and singing your praises. So you got to do it yourself. All right. So please, 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 please pat yourself on the back for all your victories here. Whether it is just doing your job or whether it's going above and beyond, because you deserve those laurels. You are awesome. All right. But we're moving on here. We're talking and put up all the things we do in our job. All right. We want to try to limit that to 3 to 6 sentences, because while this is an important part of our end of year, don't get me wrong, this is very important. This is not the bread and butter. Okay. This is the appetizer. Great. Next we want to put is where we grew. Okay. That is the things we've been working on this year. This is very, very important. This is your meat and potatoes, your main course veggies, and your sides, whatever you want to call it. This is the bulk of our thing here. And again, we want to keep this somewhere between 4 and 8 sentences. We don't want to go off on tangents here. Okay? Next is our victories. Now, this is the dessert. This is what everyone's looking forward to the entire meal. Let's slam this. Now, this is where you can run long, and especially if you had an exceptional year, this is where we want to be focusing. Okay? Is this last paragraph. Now, again, we don't want this to be giant. You don't want to go more than 10 sentences here. But this is where we're going to put the bulk of our hard work and where a lot of our fine tuning on this is going to go. Because your future hiring manager is then going to have a clear, okay, this is what this person does. Great. Fantastic. Oh, look, they're working on growth. Awesome. I like to know that my person's working on things that will make them better. Oh, they did all this, and that's the last thing that stays with them. That's why this is important. We got to nail this part. So make sure we're focused. We have our game plan, and we knock this out of the park. This is probably not going to affect your end of the year for this year, but it can affect your end of year for next year, and it can affect your future growth. So let's hit it, and hit it good. All right, pilgrims, let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, the good thing is we're doing a double win here. So you're structuring your end of year in a way that works for you and present yourself in the best light to your future hiring manager inside of the firm. But you're also getting all that information to build up your resume. So it is a double win. So that's a fantastic thing. Now, the bad. The bad is that going into the end of year process, your management probably already knows where you're fitting into the rankings. So what you're writing isn't going to affect this year's end of year 99% of the time. Okay? So we can't worry about that. It's out of our power. All right? But we can set ourselves up for victories in future years with this by making sure we open our managers' eyes to things and that they can see the growth and our wins, so that hopefully for next year, they're going to be looking a little more closely at those things and utilizing your new skills so that you have the ability to, one, redefine them, get better at them, and grow more. Okay? But, the ugly is there's going to be the most of the time, management already knows who's getting the promotions, already knows who is getting the high rankings for the year. There's always going to be that shuffling and whatnot, the little wrestling matches for, well, this person did a little bit better than that person. So, the office politics actually matter at this point. And that's why it's super important to network. Because the more managers that know you, the more likely they are to fight for you to have a higher ranking. And, more higher ranking is going to get you more money, more opportunities. So it's important. So, I know myself, I'm terrible about networking. I hate networking. It is the worst. But you got to do it. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up to lose. You want to set yourself up to win. So do it. All right. But what we're doing now is not necessarily going to help us win currently. It's going to help us win in the future. So let's start now and build out. So today we figured out a structure for writing our end of year that's going to set us up for success in the future and for our resume going forward. So when we eventually have to look for something else, we have our wins tracked and we have a good way to figure out what should be in our resume. So that is a fantastic thing. We're set up for success with a future hiring manager inside of our firm and for future conversations with your manager to make sure that they're leveraging your growth on a go-forward basis so you continue growing. Now, it's very, very silly to be talking about this in October, but we have to make sure that when our end of year process stops, that's when we start collecting our wins for the following year. So if you are writing your end of year in September, if you're writing it in October, you're writing it in November, that is when you start your next year of victories. So start collecting those wins now. Focus on our path forward and how we're getting there. Now, if you are still here, please, 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 please gently hit that like button, gently hit that subscribe button. I don't want you hurting your phone. All right. Send this over to a friend, help my channel grow, help more people get this good information. That's going to help them grow, because by helping me grow, you're helping them grow. So you are doing your friends a favor, or you're boring them to death, one or the other. I don't know. But you have a great day. I will talk to you soon. Enjoy.